If you're an entrepreneur and your business is not yet registered, if you're looking to grow your registered business, or you're an accomplished professional. Our Elevate program supports you with access to finance, access to markets, access to capacity building. Sign up now or refer a friend at ecobank.com/elevate. Elevate by EcoBank. A better way, a better Africa.
Sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Monday, the 10th of August, 2026. It's coffee time with Peter Gomez, and with us we have the face, the voice, the candidate, the presidential candidate of Coalition 2026, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, still serving as mayor of my municipality, Kanifing municipality. Let's go back to your speech and accountability. You said that if elected, you will declare your assets. Will that declaration be made publicly, and will the same requirement apply to every member of your government?
Yes, I will declare my assets
Publicly. Okay.
Once government
Because we are told that President Barrow did make a declaration. When, how, where, we still do not know. So
I think he made a declaration in his second term election.
Publicly?
Yes, where it was said he had $200 million in his
Well,
bank
that
account.
was when he appeared before the IEC, we understand. He was not to stand on a public platform.
Yeah,
and
but
say,
I mean, I think that's as public as it gets.
Oh, okay.
You know, so
you would deem that, you would classify that as public?
It is
because
public.
once you come up before the
It is
IEC,
if once you give it to the IEC and it's reported in the news, that is public. I would not have known he had that much money unless it was in the public.
Well, you said it was reported, so which means that
I heard it
you
on
didn't
the
hear
news.
it directly from him. It's different from being
Well,
on,
they said in his asset declaration.
exactly being on television, like he has access to GRTS anytime to say, well,
You know, it's all fine as far as it is declared. I think that is what is important, right? As far as people know what a president has going into office and what a president has leaving office.
Okay. So what will be Talib's approach to assets declaration?
Whatever the public wants. I am in for both. I can declare on television. I can declare at the IEC, and I will. It's no difference to me. As far as you can build public confidence, you can tell the public that I have nothing to hide and I'm transparent. Because it's all about accountability at the end of the day.
Okay. You've also promised to fight corruption, restore public trust. What is the first concrete institutional change Gambians would see from a Coalition 2026 government that would demonstrate that you mean business? I am here to fight corruption.
So one of the most critical institutional changes is legislative, is that the institutions of accountability, such as the National Audit Office, such as the Central Bank of the Gambia, the president should put up nominees, but it is the parliament who should ratify. And once ratified and they're in office, cannot be removed by the president until they served out their term or contract. So I think that is one major institutional change that must be made, because these people must serve without fear or favor and must be comfortable enough to hold government accountable. And I think there must be a separation made by a president. A president is not the government. You head the government and you certainly lead the government, but you should not take personal any audit findings against government institutions. That is a signal that a lot needs to be fixed and a lot needs to be corrected. A lot of gaps and loopholes need to be closed. So that helps in your governance. It's not an attack on your person. So I think that distinction should be made by the president. Even in the world's most powerful country, which is the United States of America, all these positions is the same. You see every day a president nominee sitting in front of a Senate hearing, trying to defend
Blanche's the latest.
Exactly, trying to defend their integrity, their past actions, and justifications as to why the Senate should ratify their appointment. And it starts from the Congress.
Yeah. And that's why we need to work on that constitution.
Exactly.
Because the president is only leaning on the constitution to do some of the things he's doing, and you can't fault him. Reconciliation and accountability. You said reconciliation must become a way of governing, and you promise that when you win, you will govern without revenge. Where in your government would reconciliation and criminal accountability begin?
So it has to begin, of course. You mean who will implement, or where would we start?
Yes.
So I think generally you start from the auditor's reports.
Okay.
Right. So I think generally, unless there's outright evidence or outright, facts that criminal activity has occurred in government, I don't think a new government should just have a blank check and say, I'm just going to audit everybody and go after everything. I think the most important thing is that Gambians want change, right? So these are the reforms that are needed. These are the inefficient.
Yeah, but if Gambians want change, they want change for a reason. Huh?
Yes, they want change for a reason.
If, for instance, corruption
right.
is one of the reasons, and corruption has dogged this government
right.
from day one.
So what we mean is, when the tendency is when new governments come, they want to settle scores. They want to look back. They want to go after people.
They look back. They want to look back in anger.
Yes. So quickly, the focus is on retribution and not on reforms. Is not about moving forward. It's about looking back. So I think then you have 5 years. I mean, we say 2-term limits. Then you spend your whole 5 years of trying to go after people instead of setting the system straight. So like I said, there's been audit reports for more than a decade that is in government files. Those should certainly be looked at. There are police cases suppressed at the police. Those should be reopened. What we mean by when we say we are not here to take revenge or to settle scores, we're here truly for reforms, is let's focus on the policies. Let's focus on closing loopholes. Let's focus on a legislative agenda to ensure government is efficient, government is accountable, government resources are spent in the right places. The priority of the people is their welfare. Let's ensure that government works towards that. So that's what we mean.
And you said the ambition is not simply to replace one government with another, but to change how government works. Give us 3 things a Talib Bensouda-led government would do differently from the current Barrow government.
So I wouldn't call it a Talib Bensouda-led government. I would say Talib Bensouda-led
government under a government under a president Talib Bensouda.
Yes. Right. So one of the major things, like I said, we would do differently is to bring the reforms. I think we keep repeating it because it's very important. When we say change, it's symbolism, but if you look at the facts, what does change actually mean is we want a government that works for the people. I think Gambians look at government as people who have hijacked a system to bring about upliftment in their own lives. And I think the concept of the servant leader should be brought back at every level. So governments can stop looking like kings and mansas and more like people really there to serve. I looked at, for example, the Prime Minister of Deutschland. He was driving a bike to work. You look at many leaders now in European countries. They have very small convoys. And these are very rich, powerful countries. So a president and ministers should increasingly look like servant leaders, including looking at even replacing gas-guzzling vehicles with electric vehicles. to bring down cost. So that is one major thing we would like to change, is the culture of governance, how we approach governance as people. Secondly, how we'd like to approach government is over-reliance on the institution and less reliance on individuals.
What does that mean?
So if you look at our government offices, they're overly populated. If you look at the line of authority, it's very concentrated. Government relies less on systems and more on people. I gave an example in one of my speeches about sending a container out from Canada and receiving it in the Gambia. And when I sent it out of Toronto, I met no person. I just showed the freight forwarder where to pick up the container, and that was it. Everything else was done online. When the container arrived in the Gambia, I had to physically go to the port. I dealt with 20, 30 individuals. True. And to be honest, if you don't put money out and put it on some people's hands,
I'm not sure about the money part, but
your container won't come out.
I give the example of where Nawe needs to disconnect you. Just to remove one fuse, they send you, a truckload of people.
There must be, a system in place and a reliance on technology to a certain degree. For example, mundane, simple tasks. So I think a shift from people-centric to more of system-centric as far as many operations of government are concerned. And this would actually increase checks and balances, transparency and accountability. Thirdly, I think when you come to government budgeting, it tells a story where government's focus is. You look at the size of the budget attached to the presidency. I mean, it's something like 5%, if I'm not mistaken, of the entire budget of a country. That is incredible, I think that's half of the health budget or a quarter of the education budget, So I think...
the education budget this time is very big. It's the biggest.
Well, that's great. And I will always advocate for that. But I'm just saying priority of spending. Government is heavily focused on areas of manpower and what we would call recurrent expenditure, and less on the human development areas of governance like agriculture, etc. So I think approaching the government budget, one would look at how do we tell a story to the Gambian people that we are really here for you, that it's all about you guys. Certainly, I agree. When you look at some of these numbers in actuality, global standard, they're small, because Gambia is a small country with a small economy, and of course we'll have a small budget. But again, if you want the president's office budget to be a certain number, then build out the economy, build out the tax base, and nobody would complain. Because when they see that the agricultural budget is $1 billion or $70 billion, and they look at the president's office is $10 million, or $700 million, they wouldn't complain, because relative to the size of the economy and the operations of the president's office. So one of our advocacy is we have a plan to build out the Gambia economy, to turn it into a middle-income country, take GDP capita from $3 billion to $15 billion. GDP from $3 billion to $15 billion. Take GDP per capita from $1,000 to $15,000. Then, if you attach certain perks to ministries' offices, people would not complain, because the money is there and the money is being invested heavily in the right areas.
You talked about, expanding the tax base. Do you agree with government's argument that taxes have not gone up? Taxes have not gone up in many years. Rather, it's the base that has been broadened.
I disagree. I think it is true that with economic development, businesses have certainly increased in number in the formal economy. But businesses in the informal economy have exponentially increased. So the problem with government is they're not investing in systems. Like I said, that over-reliance on people. And they're not deliberate about it.
GRA, apparently.
Now, let me give you an example. I think the National Audit Office has arrived at KMC. I traveled, so I didn't see them till last week. And one of our discussions was...
You traveled when they were coming to KMC? Were you not?
I was not around.
Were you not notified of...
I was notified via my deputy mayor, so we did not have an entry meeting. But at the exit meeting last week, we had a discussion, and I saw that they were still struggling with, how to audit the system. Then I asked them, but I thought now everybody's on IFMIS, because government came about 2 or 3 years or 4 years back, I can't remember, and said all local councils should leave the systems they're working on and go on IFMIS. And they said IFMIS has not been working for the past 2 years.
Seriously?
Yeah, that's what they said. So this is the things I am saying. It's not just about introducing the system, it's about being deliberate about it. So coming back to the tax base, I would say 90% of potential taxes are not collected. That's what I believe. I believe the informal economy is much larger than government can measure or predict. And because there's no systems around, there's no deliberate effort to pull people out of the black market into the formal market. So government is actually spending all its energy and effort taxing the formal economy and increasing taxes on the formal economy, and very little focus on the getting the informal economy into a structured, measurable, sector in the Gambia.
Don't tell me you don't want to, give them free consultancy. How would you make sure that you tap into that 90% sector that's not been tapped into yet by, this current administration?
Right. So it's not about just tapping in and extracting taxes. I think it's about structural development of those sectors. It's about giving them opportunities to invest and to opportunities to come out of the darkness.
To feel that they are making enough now to be able to pay taxes. Because most people will tell you, Lima, pay tax.
It's going to be too much.
Yeah.
And frankly enough, a lot of these people don't have access to finance. Right? So a long time ago, I came here and I said, one of the fundamental problems of Gambia is we don't have an address system. Gambia government has not spent any time or effort trying to build out the fundamentals of a functioning society. It's not just about roads. Where do roads lead to? Right? Now we are having shortcuts, of course, with GPS and all these apps. But even with the apps, open Google Maps or Google Earth or any app for that matter about maps. You don't see much addresses around. And travel and open the same app in a more developed country, you'll be shocked. So if government doesn't know where people are, who owns what, it's not possible to tax those people. So if banks don't know where people are and what they own, it's not possible to open a line of credit for those people. True. So building out the fundamentals is very hard work, and it's not attractive politics because people can't see it. But it is the fundamentals you need to grow your economy, to build out your country. It's like some of the houses you see in town, right? If they don't have a foundation that is structured very well or built out properly, how would the first floor look? How would the second floor look? Like a lot of the thatch houses, the houses with banco bungo, right? So if you want to build out your economy to be structured, so all the informal people become formal, there must be perks to coming out of the dark. And one of them is having access to finance, having access to services, having a low tax rate, etc. And India even has done major strides. It has one of the biggest informal economies in the world. But I remember when, what's the president's name called?
President or Prime Minister?
Prime Minister, sorry.
Narendra Modi.
Yeah. When he came, one of the first things he did was how to remove cash from the economy, how to move everybody on digital platforms. And in that way, he could get people to pay taxes. And one thing he also brought was a policy that said you can bring back all expatriated funds, all your money from abroad, and government will not ask questions, and government will not tax it.
Oh, wow.
But he gave a period. So there's short-term measures and long-term plans and measures that can be put in place.
Okay. Yeah. What if you were to wake up next week and hear Barrow has done the same thing, Gambians have been asked to come back, you'd say, well...
All power to him.
They're using my ideas, and you would have no problem with that.
You see, when we were having the NUP alliance, I said, President Barrow, I urge you to, invest in security. I urge you to make good roads, all the great things you can do in the next 2 months, and then pack up your bags, respect the 2-term limit, and let us continue.
Do you think he heard you?
Certainly, if he didn't, some of his ministers would.
Let's go back to your speech. You said your campaign must speak not only to your supporters, but to undecided Gambians.
Right.
I think I have two in the studio here.
Right.
What is the central argument you will make to such voters, especially those who are dissatisfied, not only undecided, dissatisfied with the current government, but are yet to be convinced that Coalition 2026 is the answer or the solution?
So, first of all, undecided Gambians are the majority now.
Are they?
Yes, and they were the majority in 2021. Based on all studies, more Gambians don't subscribe to any political platform than Gambians that do. However, they do vote, most of them, at the last minute, and a lot of them in the booth when they look at the faces of the candidates. And there's a lot of evidence to that.
It's interesting when you talk to politicians; they each have their own interpretation of the situation, and each is convincing.
It's very true, and a lot of Gambian politics is perceptive. A lot of Gambian voters vote on perception. That's why governments spend so much time on propaganda machinery, because at the end of the day, these are the voters that decide the election. But like you said, they're undecided and very dissatisfied. Opposition voters that subscribe to a political party at least, have hope in one agenda. But somebody who has hope in no agenda and is not decided, meaning they are not decided, is very dissatisfied. Our message to these folk is that Coalition 2026 is a different project. It's a project that is very focused on the concept of the servant leader. It's very focused on a small government and a big economy. It's very focused on the key issues they're dealing with, and this is the high cost of living, crime. But there's a larger agenda at play. What we are saying is we're not coming for incremental improvements in governance. We're here to deliver a large dream, I had a visitor, he said, Gambians are not ambitious. I said, what do you mean? He said, you have to dream big. In world politics now, in regional politics now, you're competing with your neighbors and the rest of the world. Every country is rushing to become the gateway of Africa. Every country is rushing to become the hub of their region. I saw Kenya, they're building a new port south, to be a hub for Ethiopia and South Sudan, because those countries are landlocked. You look at today what's happening in Morocco, Dakhla port. They're trying to become a hub for Benin and the Sahel region. We have to dream big. We have the God-given gift.
We have dreamt big. We're trying to make Sanyang.
Oh my God, that's one part. Like I said, you see, Barrow's government is one project at a time. They think of one project over time, but it doesn't tie into a bigger dream. Our dream is Singapore style. I know it's redundant, and the President Jammeh used to say that, but I think it's something that is achievable, and it's something that is strategic for Gambia. We have to punch above our weight.
Singapore is only four years away. Singapore was by 2030. It's 2026 now.
And Singapore had the same year of independence as Gambia,
yes,
1965.
absolutely.
And similarly, they were a very divided country among 3 different ethnicities.
Yeah, resourceless.
Yeah, Hindus, Chinese, Malay, zero resources, etc. Yes. But they just had a dream and a great geographical location. Gambia has the geographical location, but not the dream. So Gambia cannot become rich on Gambia's population. Gambia cannot be prosperous on Gambia's land resources and borders. The only way Gambia can prosper if we service a bigger market, and that is the West African market, the Sub-Saharan Africa market. And that requires strategy, good planning, and great people.
And you have that strategy?
We have the idea.
You have that planning?
We have the idea.
Okay.
Now we are going to get the people with the strategy and planning, and that's what government is about. Leaders should not know it all, and certainly cannot do it all. Leaders have the ability to bring great people together to achieve a big dream. And that is our proposition to independent voters.
Do you know how it's going to turn out on this 5th of December, 2026? Is it going to be Wiu Talib or Wiu Barrow?
Certainly, it's looking like Wiu Talib.
Okay.
You know, let me say one thing. You know, Gambian politics evolves, and the political landscape changes continuously. You know, from one month to the next, people's perceptions change, and I've seen it even from the time we started Unite. You know, people's perception continuously were changing about us. The narratives were changing, but that's what politics is about. People try to speculate. It's just like sports, but nobody knows the outcome. But what you want as a political leader or as a political platform is being on a trajectory. And that's what we are on. You know, I openly declared that in September we'll be the biggest political party. It's not what people see above. It's the work that is done below. You know, and certainly we are getting there. And like I said, this election will not be determined by any political party supporters. It will be determined by independent voters. And we have developed a third force. That is the only option now for independent voters and youths. And frankly, women.
Okay. Yeah. What third force are you referring to?
That's
here?
Coalition 2026.
Coalition 2020. It has to be very clear, all right? And Unite is within Coalition 2026.
It is within Coalition 2026.
And it's blessed that its leader is also leading
that project.
All right, all right.
Absolutely.
There's your camera.
Yeah.
You have 3 minutes with undecided voters and dissatisfied voters.
Well, you know, I'll first make a message to all Gambians. You know, this is Talib Ahmed Bensouda, Mayor of KMC, party leader of Unite, and the newly elected leader of Coalition 2026. This is a project with big dreams, big ambitions to change this country permanently. It's not just a promise for short-term leadership, not just a promise for transitional leadership, but a promise that we will develop this country. We will put money in your pockets. We will bring healthcare to your doorsteps, employment for your children. This is a project that has an ambition to transform Gambia permanently and for good. Tackle corruption, fight crime, reduce the cost of living, and create opportunities for all. To the undecided voters, I call them dissatisfied or undecided, we appeal to you. Give us a chance. Give us a shot. We will not disappoint you. To those who also don't support us, whether you support the ruling party or other opposition parties, we will still put our case to you. We are a project that is inclusive, that is for all, and we are willing to listen. We believe in servant leadership, and inshallah, that's what we'll bring to every Gambian. And in this coming election, 2026, I appeal to all political actors and all political supporters. Let us not allow anyone to divide us, either on tribe, age, religion, creed, or region. Gambia is for Gambians. What unifies us is our passport or ID card, and that's all that matters. The people that live within these borders. Thank you. Wassalam abarak.
Thank you very much. And that was Talib Ahmed Bensouda, leader of Unite, and now the man who will carry the Coalition 2026 flag into the presidential election.
If you're an entrepreneur and your business is not yet registered, if you're looking to grow your registered business, or you're an accomplished professional, our Elevate program supports you with access to finance, access to markets, access to capacity building. Sign up now or refer a friend at ecobank.com/elevate. Elevate by EcoBank. A better way, a better Africa.
Yëpp lay fay. Sant yàlla. looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay nag doo ci yokku dara.
Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.